Lucy, I might throw to you to quickly introduce the team and yourself, and we'll go from there, I reckon.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sam. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. I'd like to introduce the panel that we have, and we've got some questions that I'll be asking of them this afternoon. I might just get you all, perhaps Jason, if you're okay to kick off, just an introduction on yourself and describe what your organisation does as well, please.
Yep, no worries. So hello everybody, Jason Grandin's my name. I'm up here in Brisbane and work for a company called Arcadis. I think Arcadis is very similar to the other companies on the call here today in terms of we are a by trade, I guess, a engineering consultancy, and I think the easiest way to describe what we do is how we break down our business lines. So we have three global business lines, which are mobility, places and resilience. So we look at all things mobility, from design of roads to future mobility as well. Places, how do we create great places for people to live and work and move, and resilience and all things sustainability as well. So my role within Arcadis is I'm our data and technology solutions leader, and so it's very much looking at technology and how do we apply technology into organizations and cities and smart cities and things like that. So that's Arcadis and me in a nutshell. I guess the interesting thing about Arcadis is where we're probably, just a little fun fact is, my understanding is we're the oldest engineering company in the world. You can trace our lineage and our roots back all the way to the 1700s, which is, I think it's pretty cool that we have that great history, and there's some pretty iconic projects around the world that we could point to. For instance, the Tower Bridge of London, which is an Arcadis project. So it's pretty interesting to work for a company with such a rich history, I suppose. So that's a short introduction from me.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jason. Very interesting. I can imagine I didn't know that. So thank you. Perhaps Megan, if we could go across to you, if you're able to just also introduce yourself and also what you do and what Arup does as an organisation.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, I'm Megan. I'm a graduate engineer at Arup, also from Brisbane as well. So yeah, like Arcadis, Arup is a design consulting firm, and we are across a wide different range of sectors. So we have buildings, infrastructure, and then consulting in our scope of works. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Megan. Lots of different opportunities there inside, no doubt.
Definitely.
And Isabel Slater from Jacobs, I'll pass over to you if you could just give an introduction as well and a bit of background on what Jacobs does as well, please.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Lucy. Hi, everybody. I'm Isabel. I work at Jacobs, been there for about 3.5 years. I actually started out as a graduate myself, so I can think back to the time when I was looking for grad opportunities, like I imagine a lot of people are on the call. But yeah, Jacobs is a it's a global consulting firm. So we have graduates across like wide variety of different disciplines and sectors. So things from power and sustainability to water, transport, digital consulting, buildings, and everything in between. But yeah, not just engineers, we've got architects, scientists, just a wide variety of different disciplines. And yeah, I work in the early career recruitment team. So definitely keen to meet some of the people on the call and answer any questions you have about the recruitment process. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thanks, Isabel. And last but not least, Sydney, if I could pass over to you, if you could just give an introduction, please, and a bit of information on AECOM. Thank you.
So, hi, everyone. My name is Sydney, and I'm an undergraduate structural engineer at AECOM, and I'm part of the Sydney Bridges and Structures team. So I'm looking to become a grad later on this year. And I started working at AECOM in 2020 as a summer intern, actually. And so a bit about AECOM. So we work across different markets. So across transport, water, environment, buildings and places. We also have program management and construction management. So we work across different fields, and we're like Arcadis and Arup and Jacobs, we're also a consulting firm. So we have a lot of engineers, environmental consultants, planners. So yeah, that's just a bit about AECOM.
Fantastic, thank you. What a great experience for you doing that while you're coming towards the end of your study, to have that practical experience as well. Well done. Excellent, thank you all for those introductions. We'll kick off with some questions first. Perhaps, Jason, if you don't mind, if I could start with you, if that's okay. Just thinking about what the most important piece of advice is that you would give to students aspiring to work for an organisation within this sector.
Yeah, sure. I think for me, and in my experience, and I think what works well is put yourself out there. Arcadis, and I'm sure all these organizations or whatever organization you have, they will offer a lot of extracurricular programs and things like that. Take advantage of those. Go out and do the extra things, do networking events, do participate in graduate programs or social events, and build up your network. I think it helps on a couple of different fronts. I think culturally it goes really well because you'll make a lot of great friends across the organisation and thing, but it also helps with your work and getting a really good understanding of the other parts of the business that it does, and it helps build up your profile. So I guess there's two ways you could approach your career from an early point of view. You could turn up 9 to 5, put your head down and do your job, or you could get out there and seize all the opportunities that the company puts in front of you and engage in all those extracurricular activities. And if you're bold enough to put yourself out there, I think that those people who do go a lot farther, which I think is exciting because you get a more well-rounded perspective, I suppose, of the industry and your organisation. So I think that really helps, I would think.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jason. It's all about finding that point of difference, isn't it? Everyone will walk away from university with that degree, the qualification that they've got, and all competing for similar jobs in the industry. And it's really working out, you know that you're going to have that, and employers know that you have that, but it's what else that you can bring, and it's starting to focus on building those extra skills to be able to set yourself aside from the others at the start of your career as well. Thank you. Perhaps, Megan, if I could go across to you, if that's okay, would you be able to tell us what your organisation at Arup, what would you be looking for in an application? What do you think that students need to show at this stage to be able to progress to the next round? So also that point of difference, but from your perspective and the journey that you went through.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, I mean, like Jason said, yeah, everyone they have their degree. That's, you get your degree, you've got the degree. But it's, what makes you different and how you engaged, I guess, in your university life. So I know from my perspective, I started at Arup in the vacation program. But before that, I did a lot of volunteering work throughout university. And I think that really helped me develop those soft skills. So, the networking and the how you work with other people and how you work in a team and that sort of stuff that employers are really looking for. Because, everyone who does engineering is obviously smart enough to do engineering or whatever you're doing. But it's, then those soft skills of how do you work in a team, how do you apply yourself, what are your passions? That's what they're looking for at this next step.
Absolutely, thank you. And Isabel, it would be interesting to hear from yourself in talent acquisition as well. If you could perhaps just give your take when you're speaking with the students, graduates to be coming through, and what it is that you look for in the application. And you would see so many different people come through. So what is it that would progress these people through to the next round?
Yeah, definitely. So I would first like to say all of the above to what Megan said. Definitely looking at people's soft skills, also looking at people's motivation. So how passionate are they about the specific discipline that they've applied for? With Jacobs, we have like different opportunities in specific areas of the business. So we want to see that whoever we're putting into that position is really interested specifically in learning about that particular area of business. So definitely motivation is a big one. And also research into the company, just an awareness of Jacob, some projects we've done, any kind of networking opportunities that you can get involved in, because that really helps develop like a more personal relationship with a company. So props to everybody who's on the call for taking that next step of getting to know companies. But yeah, that would probably be the main thing. And also just like in terms of communication skills, making sure that you obviously proofread your cover letter and your resume, and any kind of long answer responses you want to provide a bit of detail to those, and that will really help make your application stand out.
Great, thanks, Isabel. Sydney, I might go over to you as a student at the moment. What would you, similar questions to I kicked off with Jason, what important advice would you give to fellow students looking to work for an organisation within the sector? So how did you sort of set yourself apart? And you obviously started out and continued on doing some work now. Is there any advice that you'd like to share that you've had to get to where you are at the moment?
Yeah, so I would say just be proactive, take initiative in terms of really getting those opportunities to put yourself out there, because in order to get all these opportunities and like connect with people in the industry, you really have to be the one who takes initiatives and sign up to all those networking events, sign up to all those industry workshops, whether that's through your university or if it's something that you just saw online or through your friends or your colleagues at work. Whatever it is, it's really up to you to take initiative and connect with people within the industry. And just by doing that, you'll just learn more about the industry, and that will help you within your applications and just leveraging the knowledge that you got from the people that you connected with in those events, and just really building your network. And that will help you not just within your graduate applications, but for your whole career in general, just by being more connected with people in the industry. That will really help you throughout your whole career. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Sydney. It's true that old chestnut of not what you know, but who you know certainly is evident. And I think in every state, the larger and smaller ones, if you've got a connection that you can at least just have, you always have to do the hard yards and get your job. It doesn't get you the job. You've got to come through and sell yourself as well. But it certainly does help by building the connections and going to events and meeting people and making yourself known and connecting with them professionally and engaging and being able to continue going out. And it's starting that early as well, not sort of leaving it till later in your degree when it's time to get that internship, but earlier on, so you've got some of those connections in place and can foster that, and they see that you're proactive in your profession and putting yourself outside of just doing your degree as well. So very good advice, thank you. Okay, so perhaps I might go, Jason, back to you if that's okay. For students who land a job with you, what advice would you give them to help survive and thrive in their first year? Is there anything that you've seen that you would say that they shouldn't do?
Yeah, I think what they should do and what they shouldn't do is probably the same thing, but it's don't be afraid to ask questions. I think quite often you see with people coming in their first, I guess, corporate job or engineering job, it can be a little bit intimidating, and that confidence of what you know and what you don't know. It's really good to be proactive, and if you're unsure about something, have that confidence to say, hey, I'm not quite sure what you mean. Can you explain that to me? And everybody I've come across in my career, and I've worked closely with lots of different organizations, not just Arcadis. I've only ever worked for Arcadis, but we've had partnerships, I think, with all the companies on this call, and it's the same everywhere. Is people, they're there to support you. They want to set you up for success. They don't want you to fail. So everybody's more than willing to sit down, give you their time and help. Like as somebody who does look after a team of people, I'd much rather people come to me and say, oh, I'm not quite sure about this, or I don't know how to do this. Can you explain it to me? Than them go away and spend a couple of hours or a couple of days or longer spinning their wheels or heading in the wrong direction or whatever that may be. So yeah, ask questions would be my number one piece of advice, and have those conversations, because everybody is there to support you and understand that.
Absolutely, good advice. And again, no question is a silly question, and it's the same from school all the way through into your career, and even more so there, because you're dealing in real life projects, and exactly that, people would rather ask, and it shows the form of thinking as well. And chances are that you might have a question that other people in your team starting out as well also have, and you've got the courage to ask it. You're doing it on behalf of everyone else. So yeah, good advice. Perhaps Megan, if you could answer that as well, just in your position where you've been with Arup, some advice to help students survive and thrive in their first year, and what worked well for you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, I just finished my first year being a grad. So yeah, definitely agree with Jason. Ask questions. It's that's the number one way you learn how to do something new. If you look for something, if you find something that you really want to do, ask if you can have a go at it, or see what other opportunities there are. That's definitely, like, put your hand up to do new stuff every day, every week. Like, something new is good, because then you're always learning how to keep going and developing those skills. I found also the one thing that I found really good at Arup, and it's helping me survive or thrive here, is definitely the social aspect. So it's getting to know all the other grads that you're coming through with, and a lot of them are all across all the different teams. So it helps with building that network as well. And as you go up through the grad program and then into your later career, you're going to have those connections, like, for the rest of your career here and wherever you go. Yeah, definitely my two main tips.
Very good advice, and that's so true. You're working with those people throughout that organisation, and you will move and across. So it's important to build those networks and really foster them, because they could be there as a big support for you in your next role as you move across, with an opportunity arises there as well. So thank you. Sydney, how about yourself? What, as doing your internship and doing the bit of work that you are now with AECOM, how did you, what would be some of your tips to survive, and I guess you're encountering now as you're going through some of what we're talking about? How do you feel about the survival in industry and finding that balance as well?
Yeah, so yeah, I definitely agree with Jason and Megan about, like, trying to learn new things and asking questions and really taking on that initiative. And I guess for me, another thing that helps is, like, forming those connections within your team, because really they're there to support you. And especially at AECOM, when you start as a grad or an undergrad, you get a buddy who is there to, like, help you sort of find your way through in your first few months of starting out there. So that really helped me, because my buddy was sort of like that one person who I was super comfortable with, and I was able to ask her all the questions that I needed, and even some questions that I wasn't necessarily comfortable at first to ask my other colleagues. So yeah, I found that was a really good way for me to just be comfortable being in the team. And yeah, also, like, the social aspect, meeting all the other grads and interns, that was another thing that helped, and just being able to form those connections with them. And yeah, I guess, besides that, just don't be afraid of learning new things and taking on more challenges. I think a lot of people who start out when they're an undergrad or a grad, they find it hard to transition from uni to the industry, because they feel that their technical skills might not be up there yet, but, like, everyone goes through the same learning curve. Everyone's taking on new challenges and just sort of finding their feet at first. So it's completely okay if there's a lot of things that you feel like you don't know yet, as long as you're keen to do the work and that you're not afraid to take on those challenges. I think a lot of the senior people, all they want from a grad or an intern is just someone who's, like, really keen to learn and who's ready to apply themselves to any challenge.
Very good advice. Thanks for that, Sydney, and thanks for sharing. Appreciate it. Isabel, perhaps if we can go across to you in talent acquisition, and as we've said, you would have seen a lot of grads coming through in industry and employees starting out. What have you seen that has made that set those aside that have really thrived in what they're doing against those that perhaps haven't lasted or left or hasn't quite worked out? What do you think you've noticed in the differences, or some advice that you might be able to give to help them thrive?
Yeah, so I've been at Jacobs for upwards of 3 years now. So in that time, I've had the opportunity to see people join it as an intern, progress to a grad, and then, you know, develop off the grad program. And some of my colleagues and friends have started out as a grad and then gone on to sort of team leadership positions, which has been really fantastic to see that career progression. What I would say that those people do, they definitely will put their hand up for opportunities. And so a good piece of advice that one of our business leaders gave to all of our interns recently was basically to not say no to opportunities. Like, even if it is a bit scary, that's where you really learn, is getting to get that experience, getting thrown in the deep end, but you'll always have people who are willing to help you. And everyone has sort of been through that grad experience before, so we know what it's like, and everyone's really willing to help. But definitely any kind of opportunities that you can take up in sort of our networks are really a fantastic way to meet other people who might not necessarily be in your direct team, but it's that networking where you get to kind of have added visibility with like leaders in the business and with other grads. And so that could be anything from like doing like uni engagement opportunities to potentially being on our grad committee or even one of our other networks as well. So just making the most of all the different opportunities that are out there, I would say that would be my main piece of advice.
Good advice. Thanks, Isabel. I might throw to a question that's come through the Q&A box there. Someone has asked the question, and perhaps either Isabel or Jason, I will pass to you to answer if you like, but they're just asking, is the profile of a fresh graduate with no prior work experience, is it considered weak?
Do you want to go first, Isabel? I've got thoughts on that. Yeah.
I would say, so we're talking about grad opportunities, not intern. Yeah. Yes. I would say that kind of would vary, but typically with engineering opportunities, at least in Australia, there is that sort of 60-day work placement, which is like built into the degree. So if the experience is not like a mandatory part of the degree, it's not necessarily something that we're screening people against. It's definitely an added bonus to have that experience, and the more experience that you can get, the better, because it's just going to help with your knowledge, and also just being able to reflect that in your CV, your answers to the interview questions. It will just help with like having a more well-rounded application. But it's not something that we would like necessarily consider weak if you've got other attributes which you're able to sell in your application. So all that kind of extracurricular stuff, uni societies, volunteering, all of that really contributes to a really strong application, as well as, you know, making sure that it's well communicated, well written, all that kind of good stuff. So I wouldn't, you know, rule yourself out just because you don't have that experience, but definitely the sooner you go out and get it, the better it will be for you. So
yeah, it's a tricky one because like you have to start somewhere, right? Now, personally, I don't consider it weak. I am not in acquisition, but I am a hiring manager and I hire people regularly. I just hired 2 data scientists into my team, and neither of them had any industry experience at all. Both were straight out of university. One had only worked in a pizza shop and the other one had only worked in a bar. But in Arcadis, we do our recruitment process. There's a whole bunch of things to go through, including video interviews. And I could see, it comes back to what Isabel was saying earlier. I could see in their responses their passion and their motivation to what it is they do. And they gave, even though that neither of them had any experience working in industry, you could see that they really loved working with data. They really cared about sustainable outcomes and their alignment to our company as well. And we're really excited for that. So we had some pretty experienced people apply for the role, but at the time I was only looking for one. We ended up hiring two that neither had any experience, so I don't consider it weak. I also see Ben's question on that's sort of a follow-up to that, which is the opposite. A lot of different experience. And my story to that was in that same batch of recruits came through a really interesting CV where a gentleman had a wide range of experience before doing his master's in data science, and we carved him out a different role because we didn't feel it was appropriate for him to come in as a graduate, and that prior experience that counts for so much. Just having that understanding of industry and what's required and how to apply the data. So I consider that a real strength as well. So two contradicting answers, but I think everybody brings something to the table, but I don't consider no experience weak, and more experience is also great. So it's kind of contradictory, but I'm just trying to assure you, both those people ask the questions, that there is something out there for you. You just need to find the right way in, I suppose.
Yeah, I'll definitely just add to that, because I just saw Ben's comment as well, and I just like to second what Jason said. I'm really sorry that that's been your experience. I think, like, for us, definitely age is not a factor at all that we consider. It would more be like, is this the opportunity that you are looking for? And just making that clear in your application is like, this is why you want to start in a grad opportunity. Just making it clear to whoever's the hiring manager that that's your full intention. Because, I mean, sometimes it can be a little bit unclear. We do get applications from people, but it's not clear that they're actually applying for a grad opportunity. So just making that clear, and yeah, that should help. But yeah.
Very good advice. Thank you both. As you said, Jason, there's something out there for everyone, and everyone brings something different to the table. So I think yes, it's good to hold on to that and remember that you're walking away with a qualification and something else at that point, a difference in your own personal brand that you're bringing to a company, and focus on that. Okay, let's have a look. There's just someone else here. Jude has asked a question: if I have 2 or more years of work experience in business development and I want to switch to project engineer or a project coordinator position, is it possible with a master's in engineering and management degree? That might be, I don't know if that's for anyone here that can answer that. Can anyone take that? It might be something that you might need to speak with a careers counsellor potentially. If you can see that in the chat, if anyone, Isabel or Jason, maybe might be able to answer, or we can perhaps.
Sorry, which one is it? I've got Amazon dialing at my front door trying to drop off a package. And it's not time, Amazon.
Ideal timing.
Yeah.
So yes, question from Jude in the chat, just about 2+ years experience of work experience in business development and wanting to switch to project engineer, and whether or not it would be possible with a master's in engineering.
Do you want me to talk to that?
If you think you can, sure.
Yeah. Anything's possible, and I think in terms of changing careers, and maybe I can tell you a little bit about my career and how many times I've switched directions, is a little bit, I wouldn't say it's silly, but I've zigged and zagged all the way through my career, both before I settled into engineering. I did a whole bunch of things before engineering, which was pretty diverse, and then settled on engineering. In my time within Arcadis, I've worked across sectors in different types of roles. I started in construction verification. I moved into building design. I moved into design coordination, and now somehow I'm leading digital technology consulting. And so all very diverse things. And my advice to that is, I guess once you got your foot in the door somewhere, the companies will help you, I guess, move around to follow what interests you. I think what happens is a lot of people graduate and they're not really too sure what it is exactly they want to do, or they maybe don't realize what different things specifically are. So a lot of companies, Arcadis does this, I'm sure the other ones do as well. We have graduate rotation programs. So say you graduate in the buildings team and you start off designing building design, you want to move into project management or data science or whatever it might be. The companies will enable that to do a little trial, and if that trial works out, then you can move into it. But once you're in that organization, I suppose you have those conversations with your line managers and HR, and they can help you facilitate to move your career in the direction that you want to do. So if the question is, can you switch disciplines and where you're working? Absolutely. But you just need to, again, as my fellow panelists have said, you need to be proactive. You need to seize that, and you need to have those conversations to drive it, and let it be known that's where you want to head. So yeah, absolutely, you can change career directions. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thanks for taking that one, Jason. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Just what I might do, Megan, perhaps is come back to you in one sentence. Why should students apply within your organisation at Arup, from your experience and wanting to encourage others to come through? And what would you say that makes Arup unique?
Right, it's a big question. One sentence. Opportunity. Make it a couple. Definitely. You get the opportunity to work with some amazing people. We're all about like sustainable development and all of that, city resilience and all of those things. Get to work on a diverse range of projects. So like inner city ones or rural projects. What else? What was the second question?
And what makes your company, what makes Arup unique?
Arup unique. I guess it's a similar answer. It's definitely the people. In Arup has offices across 140 different countries, and it's going on like an exchange or a long-term assignment to a different city. It's definitely something that's encouraged at Arup, building that international network of people. And you definitely get access to that knowledge and the skills across a wide variety of different countries and in different expertise areas, definitely.
Great, thank you, Megan. Sydney, what about yourself? Why should students apply within AECOM, and what do you think that you would say to others that makes AECOM unique?
Yeah, so I think that students should apply to AECOM because of the range of project experience that they can be involved in. Since we're a global business as well, students get the opportunity to work across major projects as well as smaller projects as well. And in Australia, there's a lot of interactions with the New Zealand and the other Australian teams in the business as well. And also beyond that, we frequently interact with our global delivery services teams who are all over the world within Poland, China, and other offices around the world. So I think that's a good opportunity to just get the expertise of engineers who have a lot of experience delivering projects in different parts of the world and just really learning from them. And also, like within the teams itself, there's a lot of engineers who come from diverse backgrounds. There's engineers and also consultants who have worked all over the world and who have come to work at AECOM to bring their range of expertise that a lot of people can definitely learn from and really get that knowledge for your own development as an engineer or a consultant or whatever position that you choose to apply for. So yeah, I think just learning from the expertise of all the people at AECOM is something that is really good for your development of your future career. So that's why they should apply to AECOM. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Sydney. And Isabel, how about yourself at Jacobs? One sentence. So why should students apply with Jacobs for a role, and what makes you unique?
Oh gosh, this is such a big question.
One sentence. Let's make it a couple. That's all right.
All right. I would say kind of similar to what others have said. We are a global company with a lot of global opportunities, a lot of opportunities for career progression, learning and development on the structured intern and grad programs. And one thing that really resonates with me would be our inclusion and diversity focus, which I didn't know about before joining Jacobs, but when I joined, it was such a nice kind of experience to see that we have such a huge focus on those different networks. And I like to say that there's something for everybody. So whether it's like our careers network or our ACE, which is our living with a disability, PRISM, which is LGBTQIA+, and just, yeah, there's a whole variety of different networks, which I'll be talking about in my presentation, but that's what I would say differentiates Jacobs as well, and why you should apply.
Fantastic. Thanks, Isabel. Look, that brings us to a close from the panelists. I will pass back to Sam, and just on behalf of the audience, thank everyone, to all of you for your contribution and the information you've shared. I found it really interesting myself, so no doubt everyone else tuning in today would have as well. So Sam, thank you for having me. Back over to you.
Fantastic. Thanks, everyone. Very informative panel that we had there. So big thanks to the team at Engineers Australia, Jacobs, Arup, AECOM, and Arcadis.